Hi, and welcome to another episode of Starship Gaming. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. Now, let's jump right into today's topic. Also, don't forget to stick around to the very end of the video. There is some important stuff that I need to say. So, the long-awaited Polymega system is finally on its way, and it was announced over a year ago. And a lot of people really, at the time, thought that it was nothing more of an elaborate scam. Kind of how people think that the Atari VCS, as of right now, is a scam. But here we are. We have the Polymega system coming out on July 6th, 2020. And it is a beast, to say the least. Now, this is something that I haven't particularly been interested in, but recently I've been reading a little bit about it. I didn't really follow it much, other than when it was announced. I read into it a little bit, but it wasn't something that really piqued my interest until recently. So here's the thing: the Polymega, it uses modules that you can swap out, like for different things. Like there's a Super Nintendo module, there's a Sega Genesis module, yada yada yada. The thing is, you'll have modules that you can switch out, but the base model comes with a standard CD-ROM, I guess you could say it's a CD-ROM drive, that plays like Sega CD, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, etc. It plays all of those. So what exactly does the Polymega do? Well, it does a lot of things. Now, the only thing that really concerns me about the Polymega is the price. The base set is $299, and that's just for, just the CD-ROM drive that plays PlayStation and Sega and whatnot, which is a little bit steep, honestly, but, there isn't anything like this out there yet. This is the only one that currently exists that's like that. Personally, I would have thought if any company would have already done it, it would have been Retron. But no, it was not Retron who was the first to do this. Logically, you'd think it would be because, if you don't know Retron, they were one of the first companies, I guess you could say the spearhead, the whole retro revival thing. There were other companies out there, but they were the ones to really bring it to the public's attention when they introduced the Retron 1 years ago. If you don't know what the Retron 1 is, it's a I guess you could say it's basically a clone console, if you can call it that. It plays NES games. And eventually we got the Retron 2, the Retron 3, and then eventually the Retron 5. The Retron 4 does not exist. So it was a prototype that never made it to production. They went straight to the 5. So, looking online at some of the modules you can buy, the modules individually are $59.99 a piece, and you have to buy them separately if you want them. If not, like I said, you get the base model for $299. But as for the modules, we know, and I'm going to read them off here. We have a TurboGrafx 16 /PC Engine module. We have a module for the Sega Genesis / well, depending on where you live in the world, you may call it the Mega Drive. For the sake of me, Sega Genesis / Sega 32X module, Super Nintendo / Super Famicom module, and a NES module. Now, they do also offer a bundle right now they're offering it at $649. Now you have to remember, this is not supposed to be out as of this reading. I don't think they'll delay it. I'm currently hearing July 6th, 2020. And there's some reviewers, if you've noticed on YouTube, some reviewers are getting like beta versions of this already. And they're starting to do their reviews of it. I just actually watched a few this morning that was discussing the Polymega. And I felt like maybe this is something that should be talked about. Now, of course, here's the thing. It's kind of confusing when you really think about it. It's more or less an emulator. According to what I have read from and seen online from various early reviews, you can, and this is for like PlayStation. Let's use PlayStation for example. Say you have a copy of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace for PS1, and you want to play it on your Polymega. You would put the disc in, and you have the option to run the disc, or I'm trying to think what the correct words for this would be. I don't know if you would call it ripping, but you could basically take the ISO and put it into the Polymega, and then you never have to put the disc in again. It's already on the system, which that would actually come in handy for somebody who collects a lot of disc-based games, especially, and I forgot to mention, for the base model, you have the standard CD-ROM drive. It can play PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, Sega CD, Neo Geo CD, and TurboGrafx CD. So all those, you can basically take the ISOs and have them on your Polymega. You never have to touch the disc again, according to what I've heard. And there you have it. Technically, if you wanted to, you could borrow a bunch of games from your friend and basically rip them to your Polymega, have them there forever, and bring them back and be like, here's your games back, dude. That's the one thing that really attracts me to this system. I think that's one of the only things it does. Other than that, the price is something that kind of steers me away from buying one immediately. Another thing that kind of steers me away, I know as soon as I buy one of these, within 2 or 3 years, they're going to have one that has the capability to play Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 games, unless they offer some kind of download, or I shouldn't say download, or I should say update. Unless they offer some kind of update. Or they may, I wouldn't think they would put it as another module, but I just know as soon as I buy one, that's what's going to happen. Of course, you got to look at it this way. Majority of PS2 games are on DVD-ROM. You have some early ones that are CD-ROM, and of course you have Dreamcast, which is its own, thing. And I know as soon as I buy one of these, that's what's going to happen. That's the one thing that really keeps me from buying one immediately. Because as of right now, it is not compatible with Dreamcast or PS2. Which, it would be really nice if they were. That would, especially Dreamcast, I would buy it in a heartbeat if it could play Dreamcast games. Because Dreamcast systems are so darn hard to find. I mean, Of course, you gotta remember, you have to have a DVD-ROM drive. I don't know if this thing, at least I haven't heard, if that is just a plain CD-ROM drive, which I have a feeling it is. Or if it's, it's all confusing. It's whatever, but I'm just saying it would be nice to have some Dreamcast and PS2 backwards compatibility, which, may happen, like I said, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, if this thing still is around by then. But it would be nice. My final thoughts on it, I would love to have one, but I am not attracted to that price, especially the modules. I think that it's a little over the top. I know they've tried to find a way to, make it cheap, but I just don't see myself getting one in the near future. Now, if they were to introduce, like I said, Dreamcast and PS2, and it was at a decent price, then I may consider buying one. But if you buy just a standard base model for $299, it would be worth it, but it would not be worth buying all the modules for it. That's basically, in my personal opinion, that's like a money pit. I also forgot to mention earlier, there are a few games that will be preloaded onto this thing. One of them is one of my personal favorites, 40 Winks. So that's definitely going to be on the console, so I've heard and read, and it's well documented, along with several other games. I mean, I can see this potentially doing good. There's a few factors it would have to do good, if that makes any sense, but it is absolutely not going to be any competition to anything modern. Certainly not the PlayStation 4, and really Polymega. Their only competition is Hyperkin's Retron. That is the only competition they really have right now. Hyperkin is a really well-known company in the newer retro community, especially with the Retron, and you have all the third-party controllers and whatnot. That's really their only competition. Will it replace your older consoles? It would be an okay replacement, but if you're a collector, let me backtrack. If you're a collector, it might not be your cup of tea, but if you are, say, a teenager or a 20-somethings, yeah, we'll go with that, and you just want to play the games and you're not worried about the collecting or anything, this might be the one that you want. But if you're a collector, you might want to buy this just to add to the collection. You use it and have it, but you wouldn't certainly want to get rid of your older consoles. But going back to how it should be marketed and everything, right now you can pre-order it online, but I don't know if it'll ever make it to like wide retail release like Walmart or Target or Best Buy or anything like that. Maybe Amazon and eBay eventually, but the whole marketing of the thing, if they want to be successful, they would really have to push it. Now, I know in my area where I live in West Virginia, it might perform okay, but it's not something that everybody in this area is going to rush out and buy, as opposed to if you lived in California or New York or any of the other larger states or cities or whatever, it's just, it's up in the air for certain areas. You can't really, it would be a hard way to market it in certain towns and cities and states and whatnot. There has to be a fan base there. I mean, here in West Virginia, there is a huge retro gaming community, probably one of the largest that I've seen on the East Coast outside of the larger cities, especially in the city of Huntington. Well, I should say the cities of Huntington and Charleston. Those are the two major cities that you'll find that there's a lot of retro gaming going on, as well as Parkersburg and Morgantown. So as for my area, I honestly don't know if it would do good or not, but for everywhere else, it very well might. So tell me, what are your thoughts on the Polymega? Do you plan on getting one? Do you find it interesting? Do you think it is just a big stinker? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, like I said at the beginning of the video, my big announcement, I will be possibly, I don't know if I will or not, I have been considering going on hiatus until the beginning of May. As of this recording, coronavirus is going on, and it's caused a lot of stress in my life and a lot of depression and whatnot. So I thought I'd take a break from all this and you know, record a few videos while I'm on break and release them starting in the beginning of May. Then again, I might not go on break. You might be watching this, and then a couple days later or a week later, a new video might pop up. So yeah. Also, I'm going to be doing some more future videos. If there's any suggestions you have, let me know. I'm going to take a poll right now. Would you like me to talk about the whole history and fabulous, or I should say infamous history and fabulous situation? I don't think you could call it fabulous. Anyway, the whole infamous situation involving the Kamiko, did I say Kamiko? Coleco. Yeah, the Coleco chameleon. I just combined two words there, Kamiko. The Coleco chameleon. Would you like to see me do a video on that? Let me know in the comments down below. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we release more awesome videos. And until next time, I will see ya.